Welcome back. Mr. Andrew Igboke, Chairman, Guild of Public Affairs Analysts, Enugu State, joins us. Mr. Igboke, I want you to intervene on this communication, because you're a communications person, so naturally I would like you to have your 2 cents on the matter. We saw the release from the Office of the Secretary to the Government of the Federation, which was as clear as crystal that the President has approved this reshuffle, and then we're hearing that he was not sacked, he resigned. What do you make of it?
Well, I've always argued in the past that there is a culture of error in appointing chief press secretaries, special advisors on the media, or communication handlers of communication for our elected public leaders, especially the politicians. Most of the time, they appoint journalists as spokespersons. In the training of journalists, journalists are trained to write news, to report stories, to write articles and opinions most of the time. The job of the communication handler for the presidency should be the work of public relations experts, should be the work of communication experts, not just journalists. Because a communication expert knows tones, nuances, and inflections of how to, be able to communicate the mood of or language of a statement. But a journalist is trained to give news reports most of the time, and so it just comes in like that. What we have witnessed a lot of times is that most of them don't know how to do what we call the image reputation management of their principles. So that is why when they see opinion or contradictory statements from others, they start to attack, they start to panic, they start to abuse, they start to use uncouth languages. That's because they are not properly trained. We don't blame them. They are not trained to be in that epicenter. They are not corporate communications managers and communication experts. They are mostly journalists, and that is why you see this kind of gaps coming up, repeatedly, or you see people attacking. Let's take the presidential spokesperson. He's a journalist, an erudite one. You cannot take that from him. A very experienced one, but again, his scope is limited. He has been in journalism all his life, as an editor, as a reporter, as a publisher, so he doesn't know any other thing apart from those kind of things he does. But if it is a public relations expert or a communication expert who has an all-round training, then you will be able to gauge the mood of the people you are writing to, which are the citizens. You're able also to carry the message of your principle, and you're able to balance both sides in the language, tone, and even the kind of lettering you use. So it's unfortunate, and these kind of things have been going on. Even the time of Buhari, we saw people, Shogaba issue his own, another person come and issue. The same thing has happened here, and it continues to happen because leaders just think that to appoint a communication expert is just what for spokespersons. There should not just be spokespersons. There should be managers of communication, managers of the image, managers of reputation, and even the brand identity of the presidency.
Mr. Igboke, let's go to This Nigeria. That's the paper we'll start with. And there are 2 stories I would like you to speak to. Electricity crisis persists as Adelabu exits power ministry. Ex-minister says peak power generation rose to 6,000 megawatts during his tenure. Increased revenue from 1 trillion to 2.3 trillion, amongst other achievements. So you can see he's already pitching or putting out a pitch for, because people are saying, what exactly are you going to tell your people that you achieved as a minister that they should vote for you? But he said, look at where we are in terms of power generation, look at revenue. I would like you to speak to that as well, because I understand he's going to be running for the office of governor. But above that, just besides the nameplate, you can see FG states LGAs or LGs share over 2 trillion naira in March revenue. I'd like you to speak to that. I also heard somewhere that the Lagos state has crossed the 1 trillion naira IGR milestone, which is a good one. So I think we may be spending more time on spendings than these revenues, because when we hear these big monies, we kind of want to look for what they are spending it on.
Well, the power minister, in my own opinion and estimation, may be one of the worst in the history of Nigeria. Or let me not even use the history, let me even use the Fourth Republic. They're one of the worst power ministers. I think he should try to use his resume or his maybe success stories or achievements as deputy governor of CBN than power minister. Because as power minister, he's one of the ministers of power in recent times that have brought the most untold hardships on Nigerians. He's the one who has taken sides with the business people in the power sector than the citizens. He's the one who threatened us that if we don't increase a tariff of electricity, that we will go black, we will go blackout. And I remember calling him out that statement is an economic sabotage and it's treasonable. But nothing happened. This is Nigeria, where a minister is threatening the citizens that if power does not, if we don't increase the tariff of electricity, that the whole country will go will go into blackout. And he was still there. So as power minister, he brought just hardships. We didn't have any improvement. It's to be ashamed to say that he raised to 6 megawatts, but that still needs to be contested. But even assuming, but not agreeing that is factual, that we are 6,000 megawatts. I mean, for a minister of Nigeria, we have over 200 million population. You should be ashamed of saying that. I don't know where we glorify failure in this country. Where small countries with smaller population are having 40,000 megawatts of electricity. We are talking about 80,000 megawatts. We are talking about China arriving at 1 terawatts of electricity. Nigeria is talking about 6 megawatts for over 200 million people. And so these are the kind of shamelessness that comes with public office in Nigeria. For a minister to say for 250 million is 6,000 megawatts. I would say that the scorecard for the exited power minister is abysmally low. And they should not use that as a campaign tool at all, because that will not fly. Then for the FG allocations, I think we are just banding figures, talking about so much money in Naira and there but little value in essence, because we are an import-dependent economy. Almost everything is imported in Nigeria. So you find out that we are having more money in terms of Naira, but we are having less value in terms of Forex. So we are still grouping, unless it's the things that, the only things that are, that will benefit from it be the salaries that they have refused to increase, and some other things that will get locally. But most of the things we do are brought in from outside the country. So when you import these things and you estimate it in the value of the Forex, you'll find out that with all the money they say they are making, the thing is low. So floating the Naira at the same time removing subsidy from all of petrol, from telecoms, from electricity has made our money, and then floating the Naira at the same time has made the whole thing useless. So you are saving money at the same time from so-called subsidy, from having a single market in by floating the Naira, but at the same time you have lost value. So when you compare what the local governments are getting now in terms of real value and what they are getting 5 years ago, you find out that with the little money that in Naira 5 years ago is more valuable than the so-called 1 trillion that Lagos has got, for example. So it's a cycle of inertia, a cycle of movement, so much motion but no movement. It's nothing to celebrate at all.
Well, there's another story at the bottom page of this Nigerian newspaper, but it's also captured on the front page of the New Telegraph. So perhaps we should just review the insight that has been provided by New Telegraph as our next port of call. And it borders on security. Senate demands security overhaul after Boko Haram kills 16 soldiers in base attacks. And there are a few insights there from the riders. Orders emergency rescue for erosion-ravaged parts of Nigeria. Akume, that's ascribed to the Secretary of State, I believe. No, but he's saying rather, Boko Haram significantly degraded and security is improving. Tinubu asks Red Chamber to confirm Dharma, that's the new minister designate for housing, to replace Dengiwa as housing minister. And Shegun Oni cautions against reintegrating de-radicalized criminals. I guess this comes on the heels of the graduation of over 700 ex-terrorists in the Ministry of Defense's de-radicalization program. But there you have it. This response of the Senate, what's your assessment of it, Mr. Igbuke?
I think that there's a kind of disconnect within the people that are ruling us. We have three arms of government. We have the judiciary, the legislature, and executive. It seems the executive, who are entrusted with running the day-to-day administration of the country, are somehow in disconnect with the legislators who make the laws and have oversight functions and as well accountability function or to checkmate the executive. Because in this single report, we can see the facts on ground. The legislature are saying, oh, we need to overhaul, we need to ensure that things are not going haywire the way it's going. And on the other hand, we have the head of the secretariat of the presidency, who is the secretary to the federal government, saying that security has improved. These are two, opposite views. And then one wonders, is it still the same country? Or is the SFG serving another government, not called Nigeria? Are the legislators legislating in another country? These are the problems we are having, that if you cannot even have a simple synergy on how to, run the security issues so that we can make our policies, budgets, and allocations and oversight implementation, functions, then we are not saying the same language. So how do we now implement these strategies? So is it that the legislators are not properly briefed? Is it the SFG is receiving another briefing from the military hierarchy? Why are they saying different things? And so this calls for concern that there has not been this shows that the synergy between both arms are not working well. We are saying it's not about coming out to say we have done this, we have done that. These are not politics of hyperbolic statements. We are seeing deaths. Our troops have been killed. We just saw the burials the other time because it was a general. What of the other lower rank and file that have been killed? We are seeing escalation of violence erupt in Plateau State. We have seen it in Kwara State. We have seen it in Benue. We are not talking about isolated incidents. We are talking about repeated incidents, almost on daily occurrence. Yes, somebody as high up as the number 4 citizens of the country is saying that we are dealing with security issues, and so these are not politics. I mean, lives of citizens matter. So we are not talking about political statement or trying to score cheap points here. We are talking about the lives of your citizen, and therefore we should work together to ensure that these things work. But these statements, conflicting statement this morning, is disheartening. As far as many Nigerians are concerned, we have serious security issues in our hands that need to be tackled.
All right. The Vanguard newspaper is next, Mr. Igbuke. Leads with food security, really, and it's some experts from the Vanguard Economic Discourse. And right under that big story, you find this coming from the U.S. Nigerian officials involved in killing of Christians. U.S. Senator Ted Cruz. And on the flip side, you have former Minister Lai Mohammed saying Boko Haram is killing more Muslims than Christians. We've seen a consistency on the part of the United States government, particularly the legislators, with a focus on the security situation in Nigeria. And if you listen to Senator Ted Cruz in his presentation yesterday, he says, well, they know them, they know these people who are, in some sense, encouraging and involved in the killings. In fact, he mentioned some Nigerian politicians whom he said attacked him over the statements he made. But you have Mr. Lai Mohammed saying, well, more Muslims have been killed than Christians. So it seems that Nigeria agrees that there is widespread killings by the terrorists, but the bone of contention now is who's been killed more.
That's the kind of country we find ourselves. I mean, a show of absurdity. By the way, I've not heard from Mr. Lai Mohammed for a long time, you know. So him coming out to say this thing, is he looking for a second shot as spokesperson or as Minister for Information? Maybe he's trying to show himself again. But he should not come into this kind of discussion. I mean, I don't know this kind of empathy these people have. You know, Mr. Lai Mohammed coming to say whether it was Muslims that were killed more or Christians that were killed more. The kind of shamelessness these people exhibit in saying this kind of things. Your citizens are being killed, and what you are concerned about is who is killed more, whether it's Muslim or Christians. I mean, these guys, where is their soul? Because I don't know which kind of statements are this kind of no empathy, no sympathy, not even reaching out to the families. You are contesting whether it is more Muslims that are killed or more Christians. But all of them, both Christians and Muslims, are your citizens. And you are confidently coming out to say, oh, Muslims are killed more. And by the way, Arnold, Mr. Mike Arnold, over the years was able to gather, you know, these things are not political statements the way most Nigerian politicians see it. These are years of work, of documentation, of research, of assemblage, of reports, of families, talking to families, of coming together to be able to identify victims and taking count over the years from different non-governmental organizations, from different community leaders. These things have been documented over the years. So it's not a whiff of political statement. And these things were presented. Someone like Mr. Lai Mohammed, if you have alternative facts, present them, let us see. Let's see your documentation over the years. But Nigerian government has not been able to even counter these things that the United States parties have been saying. And that is where I get worried. If you have a research-based or evidence-based collation of what has happened, bring it out to counter it. But the federal government, as far as I'm concerned, have not been able to provide alternative statistics. So for now, as a scholar, the only thing that we agree with is the statistics of the United States people, because they have been able to present it case by case study. So let the federal government also commission their own research team to be able to document these things and go around just the way they have gone around. But again, it is not even a matter of whether more Christians are killed or more Muslims. The problem is Nigerian citizens are killed, and instead of the federal government to focus on making sure that the terrorists are degraded and obliterated, they are paying lobbying groups to tell the United States Congress that Christians, that is not a Christian genocide, or more Muslims are being killed and the rest. It is unfortunate that we are engaging in this kind of conversation in the 21st century.
Mr. Okay, well said. It's sad that we're debating who is more killed. It's absurd, obnoxious, borderline obnoxious. And it's very unfortunate. Two things that successive governments have not been able to resolve: insecurity and power. And if anybody can do that, I think they will get what they want. That's saying too much. Let's go to the Guardian newspaper. Guardian, debate over security strategy as Senate demands rescue of 416 captives. As Senate demands rescue of 416 captives. So we are still back on this security matter. We've deployed now. The only thing we have not done, Mr. Gboke, and that's a page 6 read, is waiting for the amendment to the Constitution such that we can have state police and see how far reaching that will be. But what do you make of this story?
It still goes back to what we have said in the last story, where we are talking too much. We are not taking actions. Our actions are not commensurate to our stock. So release captives. These are captives. These captives should be more, because from all the indications from the people that have been kidnapped over the years, all of a sudden we have forgotten about the Chibok girls. We have forgotten about the Dapchi girls. If you combine those numbers alone, they're almost this number you're talking about. And the people kidnapped from different places. The people like captivities are so much from reports we are having. And so it is not enough for Senate to demand. What is Senate doing? Can the Senate bite? That is the problem. Senate have not called for the resignation of anybody during all these issues. It just demands and demanding. The other time, the Senate was also asking, what's the budget for defense used for? What are we actually doing? And so these are the questions that were, but again, there are no consequences from what all we are seeing. There are no consequences both from the hierarchy level, to the ministry level, to everybody who is involved in this. I've not seen any serious consequences. Citizens are still being killed. The kinetic and approaches, we are not seeing. Look at what the reports we got the other time when General Brahma, when he was killed, was that the APC, that is the armored personnel carrier, did not start from the rumor, from the information we got, and so many things. So what is happening? If you sit down with the military boys and talk, you discuss with them, you feel sorry sometimes what is happening in this country. So it is not about demanding and the rest. Let the Senate have oversight function to ensure that the budget that are dedicated for the military, especially for procuring hardware, for procuring technology, and for trainings, are implemented. Because if these things are not implemented, we just budget, I think we are finished, and after a while you're not seeing results, you say you demand, nothing goes. That means we are still in the same cycle of deceit, of inaction. So the Senate should follow it up and be able to ensure that the budgetary allocations that will help our military to fight these terrorists are implemented to the latter. That is why we can always get results. Every other thing is in the realm of showmanship.
Mr. Igboke, thank you so much. Ambrose Igboke is the chairman of Guild of Public Affairs Analysts. Besides insecurity to the issue of governance, we are still dealing with energy prices. I just read a report from Standard Chartered who watch commodity and oil prices, and they are forecasting that there's a possibility that maybe in coming months we will be averaging $95 per barrel of crude oil. So we need to brace up as a people and see what those adjustments are. Mr. Booker, thank you. We'll take a break, and when we come back, we will get to our very first conversation, and it's politics. Stay with us.